Ava Saint ran for her life. Blood smeared her legs. One shoe gone. Hair wild. Her dress torn halfway down the back. She burst out of the golden glass doors of the Luxmore Hotel and into the bright buzz of Manhattan at midnight. Traffic screeched. Horns blared. Tourists froze with their phones halfway raised. She looked like she had clawed her way out of a nightmare. She didn't scream. She whispered. "Gideon Kane," she gasped, barely loud enough to be heard. "Gideon Kane, he was there. I saw." She collapsed in the middle of the crosswalk. A taxi missed her by inches. A doorman sprinted toward her, shouting. Someone called 911. A crowd gathered. The lights of the Luxmore's grand lobby kept flashing behind her, soft and golden and perfect, as if nothing inside had just tried to swallow a woman whole. But Ava wasn't gone. Not yet. She clutched her ribs with shaking hands, trying to breathe. There was something taped to her body. Something cold. Hidden. A burner phone. That was when everything went dark. The crowd didn't know what they'd just seen. They didn't know they'd just witnessed the start of the storm that would set the world on fire. But soon, they'd all know her name, and they'd never forget what came next. 4 days earlier, Ava stood in her apartment in Harlem, staring at a corkboard covered in faces of missing girls. Most were black. All were young. None had been seen again. Photos, red strings, scribbled notes. Some names crossed out in black ink. Some circled in red. She pulled a pin from her mouth and stabbed it through a photo of a girl named Naomi Saint, her cousin. Missing since 2016. Ava's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Luxmore Hotel. Suite 214. 11 p.m. No cameras. She didn't reply. Just grabbed her coat, her recorder, and a tiny flash drive she wore on a chain around her neck like a crucifix. Outside, the city was loud and ugly in all the usual ways. Laughter too sharp, headlights too bright, sidewalks cracked with stories no one cared to read. Ava walked fast, head down. She knew what this was. She was about to meet her source. The one who had promised her the impossible. The name of the man who funded the wellness camp, where girls like Naomi had gone and never come back. It led here, to the most expensive hotel in Manhattan. To Gideon Kane. The Luxmore looked like royalty never left. Velvet. Crystal. A lobby so quiet, you could hear a man lie. Ava stepped inside, clutching a fake ID and the tiny canister of pepper spray tucked into her purse. Her heart ticked like a bomb. Her sneakers squeaked on the marble. Room 214 was at the end of the hall. She knocked once. No answer. She knocked again. Still nothing. The door creaked open. Just a little. Enough to show it was already unlocked. She hesitated, then stepped inside. It was too quiet. The room smelled like roses and something else metal. Blood? A shadow passed behind the curtain. Ava turned fast. No one. The TV was on. Muted. Playing old black and white cartoons. On the floor, a shoe. A woman's shoe. Pink. Small. She took another step. The door slammed shut behind her. That's when she felt the sharp sting in her neck. A prick. Then everything slowed. The floor fell away. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was a man's silhouette reflected in the mirror. And he was laughing. She woke up in a hospital bed. Bright light. Sterile sheets. Buzzing machines. Her mouth was dry. Her arms bruised. And something inside her ribs hurt badly. She sat up. Nurses rushed in. She didn't know where she was. What day it was. Her purse was gone. But taped just below her bra, under her bandages, she felt it. A lump. She tore it off, her breath shaking. A burner phone. She turned it on. Only one file on it. A recording. She pressed play. Nothing but static at first. Then a voice, low, muffled. He said Kane would be there. That they all would. It's part of the deal. No cops. Cameras off. Just girls. Like always. Then screaming. Then silence. Then her own voice, slurred and scared. "Naomi? Is that you?" The recording ended. A nurse walked in, smiling. Too fast. Ava hid the phone under the blanket. The nurse leaned in. "Everything's going to be fine, Miss Saint. You had a little accident. Some bruising. Do you remember anything?" "No," Ava said. She lied. The nurse wrote something down. "You're lucky," she said. "Someone found you outside the hotel. Nobody saw what happened inside. Cameras were off from maintenance." Ava's heart dropped. She waited until the nurse left. She pressed the phone against her chest. Gideon Kane. She had said his name, and someone had heard. By morning, a video was online. A blurry clip taken by a bystander. Ava, barefoot, bleeding, whispering, Gideon Kane. The video went viral in hours. Some said she was crazy. Some said she was brave. Some said she was lying. Some said she was next. News trucks parked outside her hospital. Bloggers dug up her history. Activist, reporter, daughter of a civil rights lawyer, cousin of a missing girl. She turned the phone off and hid it under her pillow. That night, someone broke into her hospital room. She woke up with a hand over her mouth and a flashlight in her eyes. The man didn't say a word, just took the phone and left. By the time the nurses came, he was gone. No footage, no fingerprints. She checked herself out the next morning. She had to get home. Think, plan. But her apartment had been ransacked. Drawers pulled out. Files gone. Photos ripped. Her corkboard stabbed through with a knife. Written across the wall in lipstick. Stop. She backed out of her own home. Heart racing. Head spinning. Someone was watching. She wasn't just on the trail of a story anymore. She was the story. 3 nights later, Ava sat on a park bench at 3 a.m., too scared to sleep, too stubborn to stop. Her face was pale. Her hands trembled. She pulled a notebook from her coat and wrote one name over and over again. Gideon Kane. Gideon Kane. Gideon Kane. And then a soft buzz. Her backup phone. One message. A photo of her in the hotel room. Unconscious. Captioned, "You were never supposed to wake up." She dropped the phone. A twig snapped behind her. She turned. A figure stood in the dark. Watching. Not moving. Not hiding. Just waiting. The figure in the dark took a step forward. Ava didn't breathe. Her pulse pounded in her ears like war drums. Another step. She reached into her coat. Her fingers closed around the tiny canister of pepper spray. "Don't," she said. The figure raised both hands. "Easy," a voice said. "Male. Calm. Young. It's me. It's Jerome." Ava blinked. Her hands still didn't drop. "I don't know any Jerome." "You do now," he said, stepping into the light. He was skinny, nervous-looking, and wore a black hoodie with the words, "No God, no kings, only code" across the chest. His hands shook like he'd hacked 1,000 firewalls and never slept a full night. "I was your source's tech," he said. "I'm the one who sent the hotel address. He's gone now. I think he's dead." Ava lowered the spray. "Start talking." Back in Ava's car, parked under a busted street lamp in East Harlem, Jerome tapped away on a laptop covered in skull stickers. He talked fast, thought faster. "I used to do freelance intrusion, darknet audits, mostly corporate leaks, nothing violent. I was paid to dig into Kane's foundation systems, records, files, private communication." "By who?" Ava asked. Jerome hesitated. "Your source." He called himself Templar. "I never met him. Only messages. But he was close to Kane's inner circle. Had access. And now." Jerome looked up. "Last I heard from him was the night you went to the Luxmore. He sent me a GPS pin and said, 'If I don't check in 12 hours, send this to Ava's Saint.' That's you." Jerome pulled a thumb-sized USB from his pocket. "I didn't send it. I hid it. Because I panicked." "Where?" He gave a small, guilty smile. "Your car's tailpipe. Figured no one would look there." Ava stared at him. Then she opened the car door, crouched down, and reached under the bumper. There it was, taped with silver duct tape, blackened with soot. She peeled it off. "You better hope this is worth it." In her new safe spot, a dusty studio apartment loaned to her by an old college roommate who owed her a favor, Ava plugged in the USB. Password protected. Jerome cracked it in seconds. Inside were hundreds of documents. PDFs, spreadsheets, emails, and one folder marked Girls. Ava opened it. Dozens of names, birth dates, photos. All of them looked underage. Many were tagged as recruited. A few as processed. Some marked deceased. Ava's stomach clenched. She clicked a name, Maya Brooks, 15. Recruited 2019. Kane Wellness Retreat. Another, Camilla R., 14. Unverified. No next of kin. Then she saw one that froze her whole body. Naomi Saint. Status, processed. Date, June 14th, 2016. Location: YLMTRE Island Facility. Elm Tree Island. She had never heard of it. But Jerome had. He spun the laptop around. This island was part of Epstein's old territory. Used to be listed under a dummy corporation. Kane's charity bought it in 2017. Built the wellness camp on top of it. Ava couldn't speak. She could barely breathe. She clicked through to another document, an old flight log. The names were coded, but one stood out. GK. Another one. NS. Her hands started to shake. Naomi was on the plane, she whispered. To the island. Jerome's voice dropped. You know what that means. Ava stood up too fast. Her head spun. I need to find someone, she said. Who? A cop who actually gives a damn. Detective Lita Voss didn't look like much when Ava met her in a dusty diner off the FDR. Hair in a tight bun. Hoodie over her NYPD badge. Scar on her cheek from a case that went too far. She stirred her coffee like it was something she wanted to drown. I know who you are, Lita said without looking up. The girl from the hotel. The one who said Kane's name. Not just said it, Ava replied. I lived it. A pause. Lita finally looked at her. Ava slid the USB across the table. Your old case, the missing girls. One of them was mine. Naomi Saint. Lita's hands stopped moving. She stared at the flash drive for a long time. I tried to stop it, Lita finally said. I tried, but the case got sealed. My captain got promoted. The files disappeared. I got benched for being obsessed. Then it's time to get obsessed again. Lita took the USB, and for the first time in days, Ava felt like she wasn't alone. The three of them, Ava, Jerome, Lita, made a pact. They'd find the truth, and they'd burn whoever tried to hide it. First stop, the Kane Foundation archives. Ava had once covered a gala there. She knew the layout, knew the entry points. Jerome hacked them at Temp ID. Lita created a fake tip to get security distracted. Ava slipped inside like smoke. The records room was colder than she remembered. White shelves, white folders, no cameras. She pulled out a drawer labeled 2016 Youth Outreach. Inside were glowing PR files, smiling photos, success stories. But when she opened the folders marked Wellness Camp, everything changed. Photos were redacted, girls' faces blurred, names blacked out. She found Naomi's file, half empty, only a page and a half, except one note at the bottom. Candidate recommended by Mr. G. Kane himself. Exceptional docility. Ava's hands curled into fists. Then she heard the sound of footsteps. Someone else was in the room. She turned, too fast. The folder slipped from her fingers. A tall man in a suit stepped into the light. He wore a red security lanyard and a polite smile that didn't reach his eyes. You're not supposed to be here, he said softly. Ava backed away. I just got lost, she lied. He didn't move, just watched her. Then, a loud crash from outside. A fire alarm. The man turned his head for just 1 second. Ava ran. She didn't stop until she hit the street. Jerome was waiting in the car, panting. I set off the alarm. Did it work? Ava slammed the door. Drive. That night, they went through the files again. And Ava found what she didn't even know she was looking for. A photo, one not redacted. It showed a group of girls standing outside a white cabin, all smiling, all wearing camp shirts. And at the far edge, half-cropped, Naomi. And behind her, hand on her shoulder, Gideon Kane. It wasn't just a rumor. He had been there. He'd touched her. He'd chosen her. Ava dropped the photo. She ran to the bathroom and threw up. When she looked in the mirror, her face was pale. Her eyes were wild. This wasn't about justice anymore. This was blood. This was family. The waves hit the side of the small ferry with sharp, cold slaps. Ava gripped the railing, her eyes fixed on the distant gray shape rising out of the Atlantic. Elm Tree Island. There were no welcome signs, no harbor, just a decaying dock, twisted by years of wind and salt, and an old wooden sign rotted to the bone. She stepped off the boat alone. Her boots crunched over gravel and dead leaves. The wind moaned like it remembered screams. The island was silent. The camp had been shut down years ago after public funding dried up. Officially, the Kane Foundation said it was being converted into a wildlife reserve. But Ava wasn't here for birds. She walked past rusted gates, broken benches, and cabins painted in cheerful pastel colors that now looked sick under the gray sky. Then she saw it, the old infirmary. It sat at the edge of the forest, half swallowed by vines. Windows broken, paint peeled, but something about it didn't sit right. She crouched behind a fallen tree and pulled out her phone. "Jerome, do you see me?" His voice crackled in her earpiece. "Got you. Drone's overhead. Sending it to your GPS now." Ava pulled out the drone remote from her bag and launched it, watching as it buzzed high above the trees. "Try infrared," she whispered. The screen shifted. Heat signatures popped up, wildlife, birds, and something else. A grid pattern. Under the infirmary. "Bingo," Jerome said. "There's a cold zone under the building. That's a bunker. Has to be." Ava stared at the screen. Her cousin could have been held down there. Or worse. She stood slowly and made her way toward the infirmary, heart pounding with every step. While Ava moved through shadows, Jerome was back in the city, fingers flying across his keyboard. He'd tapped into one of Kane's secondary servers using credentials stolen from a compromised email chain. What he found made his chest tighten. Encrypted files. He cracked one open. It was an offshore transfer record. Millions of dollars moved from Kane Foundation accounts to something labeled KM Consulting based in the Cayman Islands. Another file. Shipping manifests with only initials. Dozens of dates. Dozens of flights. And one email. Between Kane's lawyer and a foreign consulate contact. Reading. All parties processed. Local authorities compensated. Next intake scheduled for July 8th. Advise Ava Saint's presence has become a critical liability. Jerome's hands froze over the keyboard. They were watching her. They knew her name. He hit record on his webcam and began screen capturing everything, just in case he didn't survive the night. Ava pushed open the infirmary door. It groaned like a scream. Inside, dust hung in the air like smoke. Old stretchers lay on their sides. Cabinets emptied. Syringes on the floor. Then she saw it. A crack in the linoleum near the back wall. She got on her knees and brushed it clean. A trapdoor. No handle. Just a faint keyhole, now rusted. She took a screwdriver from her bag and dug at the edge until it lifted just enough. Underneath, a ladder descending into darkness. She slipped inside. The air was different here. Thick. Wet. It smelled like old chemicals and rot. The hallway below was narrow, lined with cement walls and dim emergency lights. Wires dangled from the ceiling. She walked slowly, each footstep echoing like a shout. At the end of the corridor, a heavy door stood slightly ajar. Inside was a room filled with shelves. On them, boxes. Hundreds of them. She opened one. Files. Folders. Girls' names. Photos. She pulled out another. And another. Then she saw it. A photo marked Naomi Saint. Ava's breath caught. Her cousin was younger here, smiling nervously in a hoodie. A name tag on her shirt. YLMTRE Wellness Camp. Mentorship class of 2016. There was a note clipped to the photo. Compliant. High value. Assigned to donor Tier 3. Ava's hands started shaking. She dropped the file. Then her flashlight caught something shiny in the far corner of the room. A safe. She approached it, tried the handle. Locked. She turned back toward the hallway and froze. Voices. Footsteps. They were here. She grabbed the file on Naomi and stuffed it into her jacket. Then she ducked behind a tall cabinet. 3 men entered. They wore black. No badges. No names. One held a radio. Another had a gun. Kane wants it sealed, one said. Last sweep, then torch it. What about the files? Already backed up to the cloud. She's not supposed to find this place. Ava's heart slammed in her chest. She pressed herself against the wall. Then, a buzz in her earpiece. Jerome's voice loud. Ava, run. They're jamming cell signals on the island. Jerome caught 3 SUVs arriving 10 minutes ago. Get out now. The nearest man heard it. He turned. There. Ava bolted. They gave chase. She sprinted through the hallway, up the ladder, out into the overgrown infirmary, and burst into the forest. Branches whipped her face. Mud splashed her jeans. She didn't care. Behind her, shouting. Flashlights slicing the trees. She ran harder. Then, a flash of red light above her. The drone. Jerome's voice crackled again. Straight ahead. Left at the rock. I've got smoke grenades coming down. Pop, pop. 2 canisters dropped from the drone into the trees ahead. Ava plunged into the smoke. The world disappeared. The men's shouts faded behind her. She kept running. Then the trees opened. The docks. And the boat. She leapt onto it, untied the rope with shaking fingers, and shoved off just as the first man burst from the forest behind her. She didn't look back. Just collapsed onto the deck, panting. She was alive. For now. Back in the city, Jerome met her at the pier, pale and shaking himself. I got more files, he said. You won't believe what Kane's team is moving through those shell companies. It's not just trafficking. It's blackmail. It's control. Ava didn't answer. She handed him a folder. Look inside. He opened it. Naomi, he whispered. She was really there. Ava nodded. And not alone. They returned to the studio apartment and spread the documents on the floor. As they worked, Lita joined them, bringing takeout in a sealed envelope. Old file, she said. From the suicide case I told you about. Tell me again, Ava said. Lita sat down, her voice low. 2015. A girl named Rebecca. Age 15. Found hanging in the cabin bathroom at Kane's camp. Ruled a suicide, but there was a mark on her neck. Too low. Too clean. I called it a homicide. They shut me down. Said I was overstepping. Ava looked through Rebecca's file. Same smile. Same camp shirt. Same fake promises. She was another Naomi. Ava whispered. Jerome looked up from the laptop. I found something else. He opened a file. A photo scan. It was a photo album. Old Polaroids. Girls in dresses. On couches. At parties. Some smiling. Some not. And in one photo, Naomi again. Standing in a dark room, with 2 men behind her. Faces blurred, but Ava knew the shape of one of them. Gideon Kane. Then Jerome clicked the next image. Ava stared. She stopped breathing. It was her. Taken at the Luxmore Hotel. The same dress. Same hair. Same room. Eyes closed. Limp. A glass in her hand. She hadn't even known the photo was taken. She fell to her knees. I wasn't just investigating them, she whispered. They were already coming for me. And now they had her face. The internet didn't believe Ava Saint. Not really. Some did. Activists. Survivors. The ones who knew what it felt like to scream into silence. But most? They called her unstable. A woman scorned. A fame-hungry blogger. A conspiracy addict with too much time and too little proof. The hashtag sane or psycho trended on Twitter for 2 days. By the 3rd, Ava's face was everywhere. Not as a hero, but as a cautionary tale. Her photo, the one from the Luxmore Hotel, the one she hadn't even known existed. It was now public. No one asked how it got out. No one asked why it existed. Only what drugs was she on? Who was she with? Why didn't she go to police? Looks like she wanted it, one comment said. She's clearly lying, said another. Why would a billionaire touch her? Ava didn't read the rest. She threw her phone across the room and let it shatter. Her editor called the next morning. You're suspended, Ava, until this settles down. What settles down? She asked. The truth or the lies? You brought a lot of heat on the outlet, he said. I have investors, sponsors, and you made yourself the story. I'm the story. That's the problem. He hung up. She didn't cry. Not yet. She just sat in the dark. Jerome didn't answer his phone for 2 days. When he finally did, it wasn't his voice. Mr. Cross is in federal custody, the woman said. He's being investigated for cyber crimes against a registered nonprofit. You are advised to cease all communication. Ava froze. He was gone. Lita came by that night, face pale, eyes tight. They pulled my badge, she said. Said I violated chain of command. Said I was compromising national security. They're cutting off everyone, Ava whispered. Lita nodded. One by one. Ava didn't sleep that night. She sat on the floor, surrounded by paper and files and silence. And then her inbox dinged. A new email. Subject line, I believe you. Let's talk. Elise. She clicked it open. Elise claimed to be an executive assistant at the Kane Foundation. She said she'd seen too much, that her conscience was cracking, that she wanted to help bring Kane down. I've seen the flight logs, she wrote. The payment records. The photos. But I'm scared. I need you to protect me. Ava agreed to meet her. What choice did she have? Elise was young, nervous, with dark curls and expensive glasses. They met at a coffee shop downtown, a place with no cameras and loud music. I used to believe in the foundation, Elise said. Thought we were helping people. But Kane, he has secrets, and he's paranoid. She handed Ava a flash drive. This is all I could get out without being noticed. I want to help you. I want this to stop. Ava's fingers closed around the flash drive like it was oxygen. But what she didn't see, not yet, was the second phone in Elise's coat pocket, recording everything, sending it all back to Gideon Kane. By the next morning, the damage was done. A new article dropped. Journalist behind Kane allegations had history of psychiatric holds. It detailed Ava's past, her therapy records after Naomi disappeared, a breakdown in college, prescriptions for anxiety, things she never told anyone, things no one had the right to share. But they were out now, alongside quotes from anonymous sources who called her unstable, obsessed, untrustworthy. Elise had fed them everything, and the world devoured it. Even some of Ava's followers turned on her. She was officially discredited. Her story, her truth, dismissed as the rantings of a traumatized woman chasing ghosts. She shut off her laptop and lay in bed for 10 hours, staring at the ceiling. She didn't eat, didn't drink. She thought about dying, more than once. But something inside her wouldn't let her go. It was Naomi's voice, laughing, saying her name, a flash of her face in the camp photo, the weight of unfinished questions. Ava forced herself to get up. She tore every photo off her wall, every image of her father, even the one from when she was 5, sitting on his lap, watching the stars. She lit them all on fire in the sink. And that's when she remembered it. Naomi's journal. She hadn't looked at it in weeks, hadn't been ready. Now she opened it. Most of the pages were drawings, notes, memories. But near the end, a code, scrawled in shaky handwriting. 42.7145 degrees north, 73.7982 degrees west. Coordinates. Ava typed them into her phone. Upstate New York. Deep woods. An old ranger station. Abandoned. She stared at the map. Naomi had left something behind. A message. A secret. Ava stood up. She had one more place to go, and she didn't care who was waiting there. The storage facility was plain, cheap, and nearly invisible, wedged between an old gas station and a bail bonds office in West Baltimore. Unit 311. The number scratched in Naomi's journal. Ava stared at the metal door, her breath fogging in the cold. It didn't feel like she was about to open a door. It felt like she was about to unearth a body. The manager had asked no questions. The key still worked. She raised the roll-up gate. The room smelled like dust and old paper. Ava stepped inside slowly. Against the back wall sat a battered trunk, military green, with a rusted lock. She broke it open with a crowbar. Inside, a plastic bag filled with cassette tapes, a burner laptop, stacks of Polaroids, and a manila envelope marked in Naomi's handwriting. For Ava, don't trust anyone. Her hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. Ava, if you're reading this, I didn't make it out. That's okay. I knew the risk. But you deserve the truth, not just about me, but about all of it. I didn't go missing. I infiltrated them. The camp. Kane. The men who came and left by private boat. I had a plan, and I recorded everything. The laptop has the full archive. Videos, photos, names. You'll see who was there. Some will hurt you. Some may even be people you trusted. But I couldn't let it stay hidden. I couldn't be another girl they buried in a headline. You have to decide what to do with it. I love you. I always looked up to you, even when you stopped believing. Naomi. Ava sat down on the cold cement floor, holding the letter to her chest. She wanted to cry, scream, run. Instead, she opened the laptop. It buzzed to life. No password. One folder on the desktop. St. Truths. She clicked it. A list of video files appeared. She played the first one. Grainy footage from a handheld camera. Naomi's voice whispering. Girls standing in line outside a cabin. A man in a mask checking off names on a clipboard. The next clip, a candlelit room, laughter, glasses clinking. A girl crying on a couch. A shadow passes the screen, the faint outline of a face Ava had seen on TV. A senator. Another video, a yacht. More girls. A woman in a white dress talking to Gideon Kane. The audio was faint, but Ava could hear it. Tier 2 doesn't get media access, Kane said. Keep them off the cameras unless they've signed. The woman laughed. They're just kids, Gideon. They can't even spell NDA. He raised a glass. That's what makes it art. Ava slammed the laptop shut, ball rising in her throat. She opened one of the tape bags. Played a cassette. Naomi's voice again. He told me if I talked, I'd vanish. Said no one would believe a girl from nowhere. But I'm not nothing. I'm Ava Saint's cousin. And if I disappear, you'll come find me. The tape clicked off. Ava leaned back against the cold wall and closed her eyes. She had the evidence. Proof. Names. Faces. Videos. But if she released this, it would bring down everything. Politicians. Judges. Celebrities. Institutions. Men and women people worshipped. Heroes. Activists. Icons. Some of them had supported her career. Some were the reason her journalism existed at all. And now they were monsters behind masks. If she shared the truth, she wouldn't just bring Kane down. She might burn the world. The next morning, she returned to New York. Before she could get through her front door, a man in a black suit handed her an envelope. Inside, a legal notice. Defamation suit. Kane Foundation versus Ava Saint. A sealed court hearing. No press. No jury. She was being sued into silence. And the case was rigged. She called Lita. They're cornering me. Then hit back, Lita said. Make them bleed in public. I can't yet. If I drop Naomi's videos now, they'll call them fake. They'll spin it. I need to get them authenticated, legally. Forensic lab. Chain of custody. Then let's do it. Ava tried to breathe, but she could feel it. Eyes watching. Voices whispering. Shadows following. That night, she heard something downstairs. She grabbed a kitchen knife and stepped into the hall. No sound. No movement. But her front window was cracked open. She never left it open. She checked every room. Empty. Back in the living room, she saw something red on the floor. A drop. She looked at her wrist. A thin, clean cut. She hadn't even felt it. Then she saw the scene. Someone had pulled her prescription bottle from the bathroom. Scattered pills across the carpet. Her kitchen knife, now placed neatly on the table. Her wrist cut, just enough to bleed, not enough to kill. They were staging a suicide. She backed away, breathing hard. Someone wanted her gone. But quietly, cleanly. She fled. She didn't even pack. She ran. 2 days later, she and Lita met at a motel outside the city. I've got a contact at a forensic video lab, Lita said. Private. Trusted. No paper trail. Do it, Ava whispered. Her hand still shook. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the knife. And Naomi's face. Lita grabbed her shoulder. We're close. You know that, right? This is how they act when they're scared. You hit a nerve. Ava nodded. I'm just tired of bleeding. Lita pulled her into a hug. Ava didn't pull away. For once, she let someone hold her. The next day, they were driving back from a safe meeting with a lab contact, a tech who promised authentication within 72 hours. Lita's old car rattled as it pulled out of the gas station. They laughed about the coffee being terrible. For a moment, it felt almost normal. Then the black SUV appeared behind them. Lita's eyes caught it in the mirror. Hang on, she said. The car swerved. Picked up speed. The SUV matched. Ava reached for her phone. Jerome's gone, she said. We don't have backup. Lita turned hard into an alley. Too late. The SUV pulled up behind them. The window rolled down. A flash of a gun. Then bang. The bullet ripped through the back window. Lita jerked forward, gasping. Ava screamed. Blood sprayed the dash. Lita. The car veered into a dumpster and stopped. The SUV peeled off. Ava crawled over the seat, hands shaking, trying to stop the bleeding. Stay with me. Please. Please. Lita tried to speak. Couldn't. Her hand gripped Ava's. Then went still. Ava sobbed into her lap. They were done playing games. This wasn't a lawsuit. It wasn't politics. It was war. 5 days. That was all Ava had. 5 days until her court hearing. 5 days to expose one of the most powerful men in America and not get buried first. She turned the motel room into a war zone. Not with weapons, with truth. Maps, string, photographs, red folders. Laptops humming. Post-it notes in loops and clusters. At the center of it all, Naomi's files, guarded like sacred scripture. She didn't do it alone. After Lita's death, people started to notice. Ava's story, once dismissed, had a heartbeat again. Underground journalists reached out. Survivors from other camps. Activists, coders, former prosecutors with bones to pick. They called it the truth table. A table full of people who had nothing left to lose. "We do this now," Ava told them, "or we die in the dark." Kane's lawyers struck first. 3 federal injunctions. One threatened criminal charges for unauthorized possession of sealed federal evidence. Another demanded a gag order on all files. The third? A motion to have Ava declared mentally unfit to testify, citing her past therapy records and now, Lita's death. They were painting her as unstable, dangerous, alone. But Ava wasn't alone. Not anymore. A young legal prodigy named Leanne, fired from a white shoe firm for exposing financial corruption, joined the team. Ava met her in a basement cafe 2 blocks from City Hall. "Kane's team is trying to rig the venue," Leanne said. "Judge Delvin, the one assigned, is a known friend of Kane's board. But there's a loophole." "What loophole?" "If we can get your evidence authenticated before the court date and file it under whistleblower protection, the case can't be sealed. It becomes public." "How long do we have?" 3 days, max." Ava nodded. "Then we move now." They split up. 2 people guarded the forensic lab in New Jersey where Naomi's hard drive was being scanned. Others traced offshore accounts Naomi listed in her notes. Ava stayed behind, building the timeline. One by one, she printed names, faces, dates. She lined them up across the motel wall like ghosts waiting to be seen. Then her laptop flickered. She looked up. The screen turned blue. Code scrolled across it like rain. Then, access breach. Remote control detected. No. She ripped the Wi-Fi cord from the router. But the damage was done. The key folder, Naomi Final, was gone. She backed up everything on encrypted drive. But one video, the one of Kane speaking clearly, naming names, was now corrupted. She sank to the floor, head in her hands. They were still inside her life, still pulling strings. Then came the worst part. Her phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. "Thought you might like to know what we buried with Lita." Attached was a photo of Lita's badge, cracked, bloodstained. Ava threw the phone across the room. That night, she sat alone at the truth table. Only one light on. Rain ticking against the windows. She opened Naomi's last letter. This time, she didn't skim. She read it. "Ava, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't win. But I got close. I saw their faces. I recorded everything. Not for me. For you. You were always the brave one. They'll try to break you. They'll call you crazy. Call you a liar. A girl with issues. But don't let them erase me. Make them see me. If I disappear, I want to disappear loud." Ava cried. Not just for Naomi. For every girl no one came back for. Then she stood, wiped her face, and stared at the war wall. She whispered, "You won't disappear." The next morning, the forensic team delivered their report. The video files were real. Unedited. Time-stamped. Geo-verified. They were admissible. Leanne rushed to file the whistleblower motion with the court clerk. "We're in," she said. "The judge can't seal it now. We bought ourselves a chance." Ava uploaded the key files onto 3 separate encrypted flash drives. She had one in the motel ceiling vent, one in her coat lining, and one, the original, inside her boot heel, taped in place with surgical tape. "I'm going to walk that thing straight into court," she said. And then, under her breath, "Even if I have to crawl." By nightfall, the streets buzzed with tension. Anonymous accounts leaked fragments of Naomi's recordings on the dark web. Snippets of voices, faces and shadows, names that made people stop scrolling. The internet stirred again. Hashtags rose. Hashtag See Naomi. Hashtag Ava Speaks. Hashtag Kane Files. But Ava knew better. This was the part where someone always got silenced. She changed locations twice that day. By 10:37 p.m., she was in her third safe house, a cramped basement in Brooklyn under a friendly record store owner who used to smuggle zines in the 80s. She sealed the door, checked the windows, turned off the lights, then curled in the mattress on the floor, clothes still on. Court was in 11 hours, and this time she would speak. At 3:12 a.m., a soft click echoed across the dark. Ava's eyes shot open. Another click. The lock. Someone was picking it. She grabbed her flash drive, her phone, and crawled under the bed just as the door opened. Boots. 2 men. Quiet. Tactical. Flashlights off. They moved with purpose. One whispered, "She should be asleep. Just grab the drive." The other replied, "Check the boot first. Kane doesn't want to repeat." Ava held her breath. She reached for the pepper spray in her coat. Gone. They moved closer. A phone rang. Muffled. One man answered. "She's not here," he said. "No signs of her. Bed's empty." They were lying. She was right there. Then, a sharp thud at the front of the store above. A crashing sound. A voice yelling. Gunshots. Screams. The 2 men tensed. One bolted. The other hesitated, then followed. The basement fell silent. Ava waited. 5 minutes. 10. Then she crawled out. Everything was overturned. She reached for her phone. No signal. No Wi-Fi. She stepped out into the alley behind the record store. No people. No cops. No one. Her breath caught. Because something was wrong. Someone had gotten her out. But not for her safety. They had taken her. And now, Ava Saint was gone. The courthouse was boiling with whispers. Even without cameras, the press overflowed. Sketch artists sat hunched like vultures in the front row, their hands twitching. Protesters screamed outside the glass doors, half calling Ava Saint a hero, the other half calling her a liar. Inside, the air was tense. Heavy. Every cough felt like a gunshot. The judge entered. Gavel slammed. All rise. Gideon Kane sat calmly at the defense table. His silver hair was perfectly combed. His skin was tanned, glowing with money. He smiled faintly, like a man being celebrated, not tried. On either side of him, 2 of the most expensive lawyers in the country. He looked across the room. No Ava. No sign of her team. Just empty chairs and whispers. A slow grin stretched across his lips. He leaned toward his lawyer and said, "Told you. She's done." But then, the back door creaked open. Gasps fluttered through the gallery. Ava Saint walked in. Her coat torn. A bandage on her temple. Her eye bruised purple and yellow. She limped slightly, but her jaw was set like steel. She walked slowly, defiantly, up the aisle toward the plaintiff's table. The courtroom stared. She didn't speak. She just sat down, unzipped her boot, and peeled off a strip of tape. She held up the USB drive like a knife. "I'm ready." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Ms. Saint, we were told you were missing." "I was," Ava said. "Now I'm not. Is your legal counsel present?" Ava nodded. Leanne rose behind her. The judge gave a curt nod. "Proceed." The lights dimmed. A screen lowered. "Your Honor," Leanne said, voice steady. "We submit authenticated, forensic certified video evidence, recorded by the late Naomi Saint under whistleblower protection laws." Kane shifted in his chair. The USB was plugged in. The first video played. Gasps. Audible sobs. A party. Fancy. Intimate. Soft music. But wrong. Young girls sitting silently in corners. Men laughing. Champagne. Naomi's voice whispering. Off camera, he said they were donors. That I should smile. The next video, a private cabin. Naomi filming herself in a mirror. Eyes tired. Voice shaking. They said if I stopped cooperating, I'd be sent to the infirmary. They said it like that was the end. I think it is. Then another clip. A dark hallway. Voices. Gideon Kane. Clear as day. She's sweet. That's the kind I like. No family noise. You said she was vetted? A woman's voice responded. She's alone. We made sure. The gallery gasped. Kane's jaw clenched. His lawyers leaned in, whispering rapidly. More clips followed. Faces blurred, but some clear. A well-known actor. A CEO. A judge. And then, the video paused. Ava stood. I'm sorry to do this. She clicked to the next file. The room went silent. Ava on screen. Unconscious. Slumped on a hotel bed. A man steps into frame. It's Gideon Kane. He lifts her wrist, feels for her pulse, then smiles. He pours champagne into a glass, presses it to her lips. She doesn't move. The screen froze there. People in the courtroom screamed. Others stood. One woman fainted. The judge pounded his gavel. Order. Kane stood up. I demand this be struck. Fabricated. Ava stepped forward. I have chain of custody proof. And I have one more name. She held up a sealed envelope. In Naomi's notes, and now verified by offshore bank subpoenas, a lawyer on Kane's defense team is listed as a donor. The room tensed. And another name, she said. Seen entering Kane's jet multiple times, though sealed on Epstein's client list. She pointed to the gallery. A United States senator, watching us right now, gasps. Heads turned. The senator stood abruptly, knocking over his chair. No comment, he barked, pushing through the aisle, face white. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but cell phones were being used under benches. Tweets already flying. Kane lost it. You little bitch, he snarled. He vaulted the table, lunging at Ava. Security swarmed. The judge shouted, restrain him. A bailiff tackled Kane mid-lunge. He thrashed, veins bulging. I made this country. I made you all. They cuffed him, dragged him, spitting back to his chair. He glared at Ava, eyes wild. This isn't over. She looked him dead in the eye. It is for you. The judge turned to the court reporter. Record a motion to schedule formal testimony and potential criminal referral. This is now a federal matter. The courtroom buzzed, but one voice cut through. A court officer approached Ava. New subpoena just came through. She opened it. Ava Saint versus Gideon Kane et al. Subpoena, Lawrence Saint, witness for the defense. Her father, the man who once fought for civil rights, now being called to defend Kane. The room dimmed. The noise dropped out. Ava stared at the paper. Leanne whispered, You okay? But Ava couldn't speak. The man who raised her was now the man she might have to take down. The truth had brought her this far, but it was about to tear her in two. The world didn't break in half overnight, but it cracked. By morning, Ava Saint's face was everywhere. Not just on fringe blogs or whispered threads, but on front pages, on the evening news, on every live stream and timeline. Hashtag See Naomi. Hashtag Kane Files. Hashtag Believe Ava. Hashtag Saint Truth. TV anchors struggled to keep up. Names were dropped. Lawsuits flooded. A federal investigation opened within 24 hours of the trial's first day. By day 3, Gideon Kane was arrested for obstruction, tampering with evidence, and unlawful flight risk after he tried to board a private jet bound for a non-extradition country. He was dragged from the tarmac in cuffs. By day 5, Ava had received 3 more threats. Her burner phone had over 10,000 unread messages. Celebrities rushed to distance themselves from Kane. Foundations collapsed. Board members resigned. And then the first judge assigned to review the case, Judge Martel, was found dead in his apartment. The official story was a heart attack, but everyone watching the storm already knew. Truth had a price. Ava didn't go home. She moved every 3 nights, slept with a crowbar under her bed, and changed her email twice a week. But she wasn't hiding. She was building. The podcast launched under a whisper. No press. No promo. Just a black screen and Naomi's voice. If I disappear, I want to disappear loud. The Saint Truth went viral within 24 hours. Every week, Ava dropped a new tape. No editing. No commentary. Just raw files. Names. Faces. Voices. Survivors began emailing her. Former staffers. Ex-camp therapists. Mothers who never stopped searching for their daughters. Girls who escaped and changed their names. Ava read every word. Recorded bonus episodes with whistleblowers. And with every upload, another piece of the machine came undone. She didn't speak to her father. Not during the trial. Not after. He never testified. He pleaded the Fifth. His silence spoke louder than anything Ava could have said. The man who once taught her to fight for the truth had helped hide it, and that betrayal would never stop burning. But Ava didn't have time to bleed. Too many voices still needed to be heard. 2 months after the trial, Ava received a brown envelope with no return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper, a flight log, The kind Naomi had stolen. Epstein's records. Most names were blacked out, but one was written in ink at the bottom. Naomi Saint. March 15th, 2016, Virgin Islands. Status: confirmed passenger. Ava stared at it. The envelope fluttered to the floor. No notes. No explanation. Just proof. Her cousin had been on the jet. Not trafficked. Listed. As part of the crew. Her chest tightened. Her throat closed. She flipped the paper over. One more message written in Naomi's handwriting. Forgive me. Ava dropped into a chair. The world spun. Had Naomi gone too deep? Had she joined them to survive? Or was she more than just a witness? Ava didn't know. Maybe she never would. But she would tell the story. All of it. The podcast kept going. The files kept coming. The court cases piled up like broken masks on a stage. And the world finally looked. Because truth doesn't disappear. It doesn't whisper. It doesn't ask for permission. It explodes. And now, everyone could hear it. Loud. Unforgiving. Saying truth. Every Friday. Until the silence ends.